Hello, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity. This is my very, very quick review of The Sinner Season 2. So I didn't have this planned to do a review on. I just watched it, so I thought I'd just come on real quick and just share some of my thoughts just off the top of my head. I'm going to try to keep this spoiler-free for both seasons of The Sinner. So if you haven't seen either season, I will try to be spoiler-free unless you're like super sensitive to spoilers, in which I can't help you. But I'm also not really going to get into like a plot synopsis or what season 2 is about. I'm just going to talk more about it in vague terms and how I feel about it. And if you have seen it, you'll know more of what I'm talking about. So I just watched The Sinner Season 2 because it just came available to me in the country I live in on Netflix. I know in the U.S. it aired on the USA Network 1 week at a time, but the whole thing like a while ago or a few months ago. I might have finished recently, I don't know. But it just dropped for me all at once on Netflix recently, like a couple weeks ago, but I just got around to watching it this week. And I gotta say, I just watched the quick review I did on The Sinner Season 1, and if you haven't seen that yet, you can go watch that. I get more into what Season 1 is about. And I loved Season 1. I gave it a 10 out of 10, and I stand by that. And I remember when I watched that video that I did for it, I kept repeating over and over again that it was a one-season show. Like, it can't go for another season because the story ends after Season 1. And so it's just, there's going to be no further seasons. And here I am talking about Season 2. Now, I don't think it's a situation like 13 Reasons Why where the Season 2 was completely unnecessary and they were just like treading ground and they couldn't follow up on what season, and they were just trying to leech off of Season 1 and they didn't really justify having a Season 2 like 13 Reasons Why. I don't think that's the case here with The Sinner, but I would say like the Season 2 feels less like a Season 2 of The Sinner and more like a spin-off show. In fact, I think they should have just gave it a different name, but obviously they want to, the whole point is to make money and leech off of the success of Season 1 of The Sinner, so it makes more financial business sense to call it The Sinner, but it feels more like a spin-off because The Sinner was, I can't remember the character's name, but Jessica Biel, it was her character's story, and the co-star, she was the star, and the co-star was Bill Pullman and his character. And so Bill Pullman's character is the only character who was in both seasons, who is a carryover from Season 1, who's in Season 2, and they reference the events of Season 1 from time to time. But he's the only connection. And for me, he felt like he wasn't the star of Season 1. Season 1 was Jessica Biel's story, and it was totally focused on her, and he was also like a co-star in and out. So the fact that Season 2 was just he's the only link, and he wasn't even the main character of Season 1, as I said, it feels like a spinoff. That's what they do in a spinoff, and spinoff would also make references to the show the main show that they're spinning off from, be like, oh, remember these events here? So that's what it feels like. But don't get me wrong, I don't hold that against Season 2. But I would say overall, I did enjoy Season 2. I'll put that out there. I did like it. I think it really had its moments. Did I think it was as good as Season 1? I'm going to have to go with no. But I still thought it was good, just not to the level. Like Season 1, I gotta say, that's probably one of my favorite seasons of television ever. It was a shame I saw it after I did my top 10 shows of the year, because that would have made it really high on that list. And it would have got a lot of like all the end of the year stuff that I do where I talk about the best of the year. I would have mentioned a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't see it until a year after it was released, which I think is a shame because I missed that opportunity to gloat about how much I love Season 1 of The Sinner. And I don't, Season 2, even though I did really much enjoy it, I would not give it as much praise and accolades. Now I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, and Season 2 actually had a slightly higher score than Season 1, 96%, and Season 1 had like 92%. So they're both loved, so that's the difference is negligible. But I get the general impression that Season 2 people liked it better than Season 1, which I personally don't agree with. And here's the thing. And I heard a lot of people complain about season one. I talked about this in my review for season one, which I didn't agree with. A lot of people complained that season one was being unrealistic with memory, and someone was like, "Oh, it's like they go in the room, like remember harder." And I talked about that, and I completely and utterly disagree with that. In fact, I was looking out for that when I first watched it because I saw the reviews first, and I was like, "Well, what the hell are they talking about? They don't do that at all." And season two, they don't. It's not about recovered memories the way that season one was. I mean, the link is somewhere in that there's a murder in the very first episode, and you know who did it. It's not a who done it; it's a why done it. So that part of it stays the same. But season two isn't really about repressed memories like season one is. Season two is more of there's a lot of characters involved, and they're all hiding things. So we don't know why it was done until or all the ins and outs and intricacies until the end of the season. And so I think some people probably liked it better because of that, because it didn't involve repressed memories and remember hard, which is bullshit, remember harder. But it didn't involve repressed memories, it involved people hiding things. But for me personally, I disliked that more. Like, I liked the season one dealing with repressed memories more than people hiding things. Now, when the characters are hiding things, they weren't really doing it in a way that was, I would call, plot contrivance. Like, it made sense for the characters, and it was realistic that they wouldn't want to share this thing. So it made sense for them to hide things. So I didn't have an issue with that. It's just in general, I just don't like that as a plot device. I just personally finding it a bit frustrating when there's something you could know, but just someone's not sharing it with you. It's just my personal pet peeve. It's not a big one. Like, it didn't hinder the show for me. As I said, I still enjoyed the show, but I actually enjoyed the dealing with repressed memories aspect of season one more. I had less of an issue with that. But that's just me. Everyone has a different opinion. And also, as much as I did enjoy season two, there were some moments, I would say, that were like really got to me and like had me in tears. I was like really golden moments in season two. But overall, it didn't have that impact, that punch that season one did, particularly ending. Like, the ending of season one just blew me the hell away, whereas season two, the ending revelation didn't quite do the same. And I will say, like, both seasons are a question of why done it, and the answer of why done it in season one was a lot more powerful in my opinion. That's what really blew me away. When the actual answer of why did this person commit murder in season two wasn't actually that interesting. In fact, that was answered kind of even before the end of the season, and then the last couple episodes were dealing with all of the situations around it, like the actual murder. That was kind of not the answer of why that murder was committed. Wasn't actually that interesting, and wasn't the thing. The thing in season two was all the situations and characters and things surrounding the events of this murder. And I don't know. As I said, I enjoyed it, but I found it a bit convoluted. Not too convoluted, mind you. No Captain America Civil War situation, but it was a little bit convoluted. It was a bit more complicated than it needed to. And there's a few, like, I won't get into spoilers, but there's a few decisions they made toward the end where they zigged where they should have zagged, kind of like Rick Gunn, where I think they went in one direction, but it would have been a little bit more interesting if they went in the other direction. And also, there was one thing in particular involving the Beacon. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. That I think they should have. I kept expecting them to touch on more, but they didn't touch on it. So I was a bit disappointed that they didn't. But I will say about season two, huge positive is Carrie Coon. Love Carrie Coon. I haven't seen Fargo yet, But I loved her from The Leftovers. Huge fan of The Leftovers. One of my favorite shows of all time. I thought she was like the best actor in that show. And so I've become a huge fan of her default. And she was also amazing in the show. So she was a huge plus for me. It's just... And it has some great moments, some great character moments. But the overall story for me didn't have that oomph that season 1 did. But I will say it was a good follow-up. I will say it wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't like, oh, they should have ended it after one season like I would with 13 Reasons Why. But I will say it's more of a spin-off show. And it's a decent follow-up, but doesn't quite live up to The Sinner. But it certainly stands on its own, and it justifies its existence. So my rating for The Sinner Season 2 is, out of 10, is an 8, extremely good. I would definitely recommend watching it, especially if you've seen Season 1 and you enjoyed it. You will probably enjoy Season 2 as well. It's definitely worth the watch. Definitely a lot of golden moments that really shine. It just, to me, it doesn't have that. It doesn't all come together the way, in the awesome way that Season 1 does, but I'm comparing it to something that's really up there, honestly. Has it in the season itself, definitely really good, definitely worth the watch. Anyway, that is it for this very quick video. Make sure to check out my channel for all the other stuff I do, and I'll see you next time.